All right, guys, we're back. We're ready to do some more texturing. We're like 60% done with this desk at this point. The wear, the base, well, I guess we're like 50% done. So let's do the coffee stains. So it's actually, you guys back with me, by the way? We kind of just started back up. A couple of people in the chat in there. Nobody's chatting, so that kind of weirds me out. All right, so we'll get our base color using the color sampler here. Right there, we'll get it from our coffee. That's like most of the reason I actually put the coffee there was so I could sample it. Wait, I was on the fingerprints layer. Dang it. And of course, we're going to make it a little bit lighter or a little bit darker. We'll see. We'll see what we end up doing. Back to the material mode. Give it a little height. Definitely more roughness. No metal. And then add black mask. Add a black mask. There we go. So now we're going to have some fun. Okay, so let's just go straight to a brush. With this one, I'm not really going to bother with a fill because these are going to be very specifically location-based. So we're just going to go straight into painting. So brushes. There are two brushes. There's one brush I like for this, spots. And so get a couple of spots. Go over here and look at our settings. By the way, we don't have all the normal things. We only have a grayscale because we're in alpha, or we're in the mask. So we can only do black and white. Minimum flow, got to bring that up because like 0 is way too little for it to do anything. Angle jitter, flow jitter, and we're going to actually lower the flow jitter. Size jitter, actually, no, I don't want hardly any size jitter. A little bit. Position jitter, yes. Okay. So now we should be able to paint. Ooh, okay. So our color definitely is too bright because it's not contrasting well with our desk. Oh, and we should actually, before we get too far, clear our mask and then add a paint in the paint. There we go. Kind of like put some all around. Actually, I do want a little bit more flow jitter and maybe a little bit more lower minimum flow. And then let's put some over here by the thermos as well. Of course, we've had coffee in our thermos also. Now, on our coffee mug, I'm going to do something a little bit unique over here. I feel like there's too many. So I'm actually going to paint some of them out. That's stupid. Now when you go back to my spots brush, And I'm going to do something a little bit cool here. So we're going to go to this alpha area. If you remember, I created all these alphas and we've only used one. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to change out the alpha with this alpha stroke that I brought in. This is one that I actually downloaded off the internet and then briefly modified in Photoshop to fit our purposes. So it's got the splat, it's got a little bit of the ring. I definitely wanted to add this one in. So we're on black. Also, what was I thinking? This texture should definitely be at 1024. Oh, we're going to have to go back and adjust that. So there we go. We got some more darker splats because we've got fresh coffee that's spilt on the desk. We'll clean it up. We'll clean it up. Actually, because it's fresh coffee, it should be lower roughness. Okay. And so maybe we had, it closer to the laptop over here briefly. There we go. Nice splat. And I'm going to disable this and put I got to get the basic spots back out. So bring that minimum flow black up. And then the size jitter back down. Just jitters too much. So there we go. Now we're going to have to make some adjustments to this wear and tear now that we've increased the resolution. And that's my fault. So number one, I think we're going to have to minimize that height difference and go into some of these masks and just probably lower the opacity on some of them. Maybe change the settings a little bit. Nope. There we go. Improving our subtract mask health. And we lost all of our scratches. That's better. You got to iterate on things. Okay, so what do you guys think of our coffee stains? And they should have a little bit more roughness, so we should be able to see them reflect a bit. Oh, wow, we reflect them a lot. Oh, and that height, yeah, that's not working for us. Maybe we need to change this roughness so that it's a little less. less rough. Coffee. Coffee's pretty low though. Maybe a little bit of height, but that's just too much. Yeah, that's better. Just had to figure out the roughness, and it helped to have some things to contrast it with. There we go. All right. Okay, so we got that figured out. Now, let's do the dust. Dust is always fun. So, with the dust, I always like to add a little bit of yellow, just a little bit, like very slight, because I don't know, I just like to have some color in it. And then no height, no metal, of course, roughness. And then add a black mask. And there's a lot of good dust ones. There's so look at all these. These are just dust. And apparently rust for some reason. Dust Subtle is always one of my favorites. It's like, it's so hard to even see what it's doing. We go to the mask channel, like it's doing stuff. It's definitely doing stuff, but it's so subtle, which is good. We want it to be subtle. Why am I doing it? And sometimes I'll add another one. Sometimes I won't. Dust occlusion's not going to do us hardly any good, I bet. Put that on there. What's that doing? Yeah, dust doesn't accumulate on the curves. So I do dust soft too. That one's not bad. Could add those together with Light and Max. Yeah, that one's not bad. Okay, so let's add some more stuff in. Let's add a fill. And this one, we're actually going to go in the negatives. So for this one, we're going to go to grunges. And we're going to add some wipes. So the idea behind this is like, somebody's actually attempted to clean up this dust. So we're going to go in here, add a little bit of that. We're going to increase the scale. That's too much. All right. It's in a weird placement, so I'm going to go to the 2D, 3D. So there we go. And then let's keep this around, but just kind of move it over to the side. So then we're going to change this to subtract. So it's actually removing dust. See? And we'll add another one. White grainy. White leaky. That's the opposite of what we want. White smudges heavy. White smudges soft. Yeah, this is the other one I think I want, because we've used this one, white directional. We use the white brushed partial. And again, we'll increase this to 2, kind of position it so it looks a little bit more like it's kind of focused in the center. And then we will change this to subtract. And so, of course, we want to make sure we're not getting rid of all of our dust. Maybe this one will lower the opacity because it's doing too good of a job. There we go. So we got some nice dust on here now. What do you guys think? Is that a good little addition? And you can really see it when we bring this over because of the roughness. You know, I keep kind of adjusting the roughness here because I'm never really very sure where I want it. Because I want it to be kind of reflective, but I want it to contrast with the other things that we're putting in here. So, okay, last things up, fingerprints. So what are our fingerprints going to be made of? That's the tricky bit. They wouldn't be made of coffee. They could just be dirt. Or they could just be like finger grease, in which case they would be higher roughness. What do you guys think? No height. No height, no metal. Or they could be made of dust. The second one? Okay, so we're just going to have them be like oily, dusty fingerprints. All right, well, let's do that then. Go ahead and I'll add my slight yellow. And then we'll add our, where are they? Oh, we'll add our black mask. Add a fill. We'll do something like this, which will, of course, increase the tiling to, no, it needs to be way smaller than that. Would we invert it? No. Well, maybe. Actually, yes, we would. Yeah. All them smudges. Now let's lower the opacity because that's way too much. And I'm going to add a paint. Actually, no. What I'm going to do is I'm going to add another one, another fill. And I'm going to add a grunge to kind of like get rid of some of that. I'll add a wipey. That's not bad. Put it to 2. There we go. That way we're breaking it up a little bit. Let's kind of get it out of that prime spot. Subtract. And then we'll add another more subtle fingerprints on top. We have a lot of fingerprint options here. Wow, we should have added this to our dust. We'll go back and do that. And we're going to increase the scale. Change this to light max. And lower the opacity a little bit. There we go. And then in our dust, I can't believe we didn't do this. Add a fill. Scale, and then we'll put it underneath one of the wipes. And then change it to light max. There we go. That's giving us some nice like clumps of dust. And now with the fingerprints, I actually like to change the opacity so it's lower and really have the roughness drive it. And probably the same with the dust to a lesser degree. But if you look at the roughness channel now, it should be fairly obvious. Yeah. Oh, yeah. You take that off. Maybe I should up the color a little bit. There. And that is our dust. What do you guys think? While you're thinking, I'm going to go back and do that thing I wanted to do to the coffee mug. I wanted to do coffee. We're going to turn all of the ones we already did off. I wanted to see this one. Oh yeah, that's actually really good. I'm going to have to go in here and like lower the level, but that is really good. That's better than this one that we had below it, the dirt. We'll actually turn that one off now. Contrast a little bit, lower the level. That's really good. I like that a lot. Yeah. Maybe lower the level a little bit more. There we go. Okay. So back to the desk base. Now, we're going to do something kind of fun here. We're going to do the desk drawers, but we've already done wood grain. So like, I don't want to do it again. I'm lazy. Well, I like efficiency, I should really say. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a folder here, and I'm going to name it 2021-05 wood grain. Putting that in there because I make one of these every month and get a little confusing. So I'm going to go in here, I'm going to grab this, and what we're going to do is we're going to create our own smart material. So right click, you just go down to create smart material. And then when we go to the smart materials in the desk, we'll see we have our boy right there. Oh, here's the one I did last time. Name it desk, which is actually a better one. I like that name better. Dang it. There we go. And so we'll create a smart material for the desk. And then we'll go over to the desk drawer and we'll drop that in. So right off the bat, we've got all of our stuff added. Delete that layer one. There's a couple of things I want to do differently. Number one, no coffee stains on the drawers. Because we don't have any smart stuff on there anyway, or fills, so it wouldn't matter. Because it's all paint. I'm actually going to delete that. And then I'm going to change the base, because I don't know if you guys noticed, I brought in this other wood grain. So I'm going to switch this out. So I got that. Now, because of that, we're going to have to adjust our dust, because it's a little too strong with that contrast. Fingerprints too. Also, I think the scale of our fingerprints is a little bit too small because our UVs are not the same size. Yeah, not too bad. Anyway. So I've still got that UV stretching issue I got to fix, but aside from that, it's looking pretty good. Our wear is a little bit too noticeable. So again, I'm going to kind of make an adjustment to that. Probably just tone it down. Yeah. There we go. And there we go. The desk drawer took us way less time than it took us to make the actual desk. All right, now the last thing, the thermos. I'm going to do one additional thing real quick. plastic ring. And this is, again, just to kind of help my neuroticism of being like, it bothers me that that ring doesn't have a color. It's supposed to be a black ring, so be almost black. To be kind of, and it won't be saturated. There we go. That solves the problem. Oh, I didn't do a fill layer. Stupid. There we are. Height doesn't matter. Normal doesn't matter. No metal. Roughness. Yeah, fairly rough. Whatever. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter because we're not going to be thinking about it a lot. By the way, if you want to turn off the MacBook now, the MacBook keys, this is what our desk looks like without it. There is an area devoid of detail there, but if our laptop is there usually, that probably would be the case. Okay. So I am going to use a starter material for the steel. Steel rough. I like that. Steel rust. Because it is a stainless steel mug. Steel stainless. Try that. Stained. I mean, you're doing some things in here. Kind of dirt. I suppose we can allow the dirt. Sharpen. Just wanted regular stainless steel. I could just do normal steel. Make sure that's probably actually stainless steel. Yeah, there we go. What's going on in here? Edges. All right, this is not bad, but this is getting away from what I want to teach you. So going back to the standard materials. Steel rust. Steel rust. Yeah, that's not what I want. Just gonna do steel rough. That is way too much roughness. What's with this weird bump map going on in there? All right. Changing my mind. Get rid of the steel. The steel is annoyingly terrible. We're going to do iron, which is kind of close to steel. Iron pure. There we go. So roughness. The challenge is we're going to have roughness or else the antroscopy is not going to work. So I am going to put some roughness, some definite roughness in here. Probably 0.2, at least 0.25. Because we'll need that for the antroscopy or else the antroscopy won't work. Okay, so there's our base, iron pure. Now we have to put our AAA logo in here. So again, we're going to use a stencil. And I'm just going to make a layer for paint. I mean, they do have a paint material. Paint. Actually, steel paint probably be the best. And this is basically just a material that's kind of with some preset values usually. So I want less saturation. All right. Roughness. Probably. I want it to be pretty smooth based on our reference. And we're going to do a fill layer. Sorry, not a fill layer. We're going to add a black mask. There we go. And hang on, I got to get the reference out for the thermos. Here's my reference. So now let's go to our AAA logo, put it in our stencil. We could do 2D, 3D. Try and find the right position. Now here's a trick you can do where you where's my brushes? Just want the regular artistic brush. Do that, figure out where it's actually showing up. You're like, okay, kind of there. And then where's our reference? It's got to be about halfway down. Probably a little bit smaller. Oh, a little bit bigger. Higher. I think that's probably good. Now, there's something annoying me about this layer. It's got height on it. Now, for the first time, we are using metal. We do have metal in the base layer, and we're having this turned on to disable the metal. Because if we look at the metallic map, it's white except for where we're putting the logo. Okay. Probably not going to need this 2D, 3D anymore. Okay. By the way, when I UV'd this, I want to warn you, make sure your UVs don't come on this edge. I had that for a while, and while I was doing these demos, when I fixed it, it made this whole process easier because we're going to add a little bit of rust to this thermos. And when I had that seam in here, boy, did my thermos look weird. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to use another one of the base materials because their rusts are actually really good. And it's going to save me a lot of time. Either is good. I'm going to go with rust coarse. Put that underneath the logo. And you can kind of change the color, but it doesn't really matter that much. Because, like always, we're going to add a black mask. And now, let's check out the smart materials. So what I like in here, steel rust. Oh, sorry, smart mask. Rust ground, surface rust. Let's try rust ground. Nope, that one's terrible. Surface rust. That one is not terrible. And let's try regular old rust. Not in love with it, guys. Rust drips. I do kind of like it. Now, UVs are a little weird up here. None of these options do anything. Oh, it's because we're here. Rust spreading, rust contrast, rust smooth. These two are kind of doing the same thing. So I think I'm going to get rid of the bottom. Now, I think if I looked at my seam around back, it would probably, yeah, there's a problem area. But don't worry, we can't see that from our camera. Edge rust. What is that? That added a bunch of weird stuff. Yeah, I don't like that. So the basic rust doesn't work good by itself, but I think if we do linear dodge add, it works to give us areas of higher rust within the lower rust areas. With this overall rust already there. So that's kind of nice. Yeah, blur it a little bit. That's what I want. I've still got this weird stencil hanging out on my screen, don't I? Figure that out. Okay, so the last thing I want is I want some areas to be completely rust free. So I think for that, we're just going to add a fill, and we're going to go to our grunges, and I'm just going to pick a nice grunge in here. Something like this one. Increase the balance because all I'm going to do with this one in the end is I'm going to add subtract. So we have areas that are free of rust. A little bit weird that where it's choosing to be, so I'm not sure I love that. Hmm. That one usually is terrible, but actually kind of works for this. There we go. We're breaking up that rust quite a bit. I might add one more in to break it up a little bit more. But I'm going to do one that has a lot less going on than those basic grunges. I'm going to do the spots small. And of course, we're going to change this to subtract. So we got a minorly rusty thermos. It is definitely going to be a little weird. I can't have that. It's totally weird. There we go. And that's where I think I'm going to leave that one today. It's not my best go on the thermos. I've definitely had a better go, but that's where we're going to leave it, or else we'll be at this all day. There are a couple more things I did want to show before we move on. We're just going to, actually, we're going to save. We're going to go back to our desk because I didn't get a chance to show particle brushes. So let's go ahead and I'm going to duplicate this coffee stains layer. But I'm going to clear all of the masks out. Where is it? Am I blind? Clear mask. So I'm going to show you guys something pretty cool. I'm going to show you particle brushes. So these have a number of different uses. We're going to use them to kind of do like a leak from our, like we spilled coffee. So if you go in here and kind of, and that was not good, but it kind of dynamically creates a texture pattern based on, well, you'd be like, oh, I spilled coffee. No, that's terrible. But it does it kind of based on a particle pattern. That's a lot of coffee. And there's a particle generator here. You can mess with everything. You can't save out the animation. This is just to make textures. Ooh, puddle, what does this look like? Oh, right, that's like for rain. I forget. I always forget that. Seems like it should be something that other than what it is. There's one for fire. If you wanted to light your desk on fire, that is not fire. You can do broken glass if it would work. There you go. I'm sorry, Balin, I don't know how long you brought this up. Do I use generators a lot? I use them sometimes. I try not to rely on them too much because it's a thing where people can kind of like, if you're overly reliant on it, people notice. And they're like, do you know how to texture paint, or are you just using generators all the time? And there's laser shots. If your desk gets shot by stormtroopers, I need to increase the spread on it. Pew, pew. Your desk gets a Zerg infection. There you go. Yes. So grunges are not generators, though. Grunges are they're procedural fill. And so if you use those and you layer them, you can get a lot of interesting effects, but it does take time and patience. Oh, splat. I think this is the one that I wanted. Maybe like a little bit of a coffee stain. Yeah, like we spilled coffee. Oh no. And then do a little bit of the leaks heavy. No, it's fill. Do a little bit of the fill with that. No. So, okay, let's do a little fill. If it will actually do fill. Come on. That's the problem. There's all of these settings. I don't really know what they are. And then we'll do a little bit of the splat. Oh no, I spilled coffee. There we go. The only problem with the splat is it tends to be like it always goes horizontal for some reason. I don't know why that is. So there we go. There's our splat from our coffee stain, which you don't have to keep. We probably won't keep, but I thought it was fun to show you guys that. One last thing that I feel is necessary to do for personal reasons, I am going to put a logo in here of my own. I'm going to do what sort of, it's going to be like a sticker. So what color do I want? I want orange. And we'll add a little bit of height, no metal, low roughness. Okay. Add a black mask. I brought this in here explicitly for this purpose. Oh, that's the wrong one. Curses. Now I got to bring it in again. Need that one. Alpha. Project. Regular brush. Brush. You guys are like, what is he doing? Yeah. No, not alpha. That's the wrong dang stencil again. Curses. It needs to be this one. There we go. The artistic brush is the worst. All right, that's a little bit too much to be too much height to be a sticker, so I'm going to have to go in and tone that down. There we go. Nice little sticker on our desk. It's fun for me. Might be a little bit big, but whatever. Okay, so now let's get everything back into Maya so we can actually render it with Arnold. We go to File, Export Textures. Here it is. And so we're going to turn all the things off except the Chrome Thermos, the desk space, the desk drawer, and the mug. And I'm going to create a place for them to go in our Maya project, source images, substance textures, new folder, 2021-05, create, open. And then this PBR metallic roughness, we need to change to Arnold. It's probably up at the top because it's alphabetical. Arnold AR standard surface, which is the exact material we're using. I think we need to keep it Targa. That worked really good last time. That should be it. Pretty sure. So then after that, let's save our settings. And hit export. That should bake everything out for us. And then you can always open the output directory, which I always like to do. And we have all of this. These are our textures. There we go. Those all look correct. Cool. All right, save. We're sadly going to close Substance Painter. Goodbye, Substance. Goodbye. I will miss you. Until our time again, when I make substances. There we go. And we'll just open our last scene back up. And I'm actually going to really quickly find my old guide. Because I've only done this a couple of times, and I'm not 100% familiar with the pipeline. Again, we've only been using Arnold for a couple of months, so I just want this up in case I have to reference it because I get lost. desk is still alive. Actually, let's go perspective and let's float over here nice and close. Okay, so we're going to grab our materials. We should have one for desk base. And we're going to plug in our color. So go right here, file. This is the same way you plug in a texture. Click here and go to my, those are my source textures. I want my substance textures. And so we'll go to desk base color. There we go. Open. Hang on. Press 6. There we go. We can see our texture. Looks very nice. Next up, let's plug in our bump map, which is under geometry, maybe? Yes. Aha. I think that's where we plug it in. Let me check my document to make sure I'm doing the right thing. Oh, man. I'm reasonably sure this is it. So we're just going to go here and we'll go to file and it should give us the bump node. It does. Great. Lower bump depth to like 0.1 or 0.2. I like 0.2, but 0.1 is also good. We'll plug our bump map in. Substance textures, 2005, desk base height. There should be some more detail in there. Oh, hopefully we can see it. Make sure that this one is switched to raw. And then we're going to go here and we will plug our roughness in. Now special directions for roughness. So I'm pretty sure we just plug it into specular roughness. File. Plug in our texture. Substance desk base roughness. There it is. Open. Again, this has to be set to raw. And we need to go here and check alpha is luminance. And since we don't have any metal, we don't need to plug in our metallic map. In fact, if we look at our metallic map, we're going to see that it is black. It's just black. There's nothing there. It is really only going to be useful on the thermos because that's the only thing that has metal. So there's our drawers. And where is our mug? Oh, that's the desk. So now we should be able to render. Let me save this as a demo scene. That's demos. And if we render, we should see all of our fun details in all of their glory. Oh, it has to convert the files. So annoying. Not sure what that giant thing in my height map is. I'm pretty sure I put the bump, yeah, fairly low. Oh, wow. No, our detail is too bumpy. Yeah, that makes sense, Cody. Again, I just haven't done the substance to Arnold pipeline that often. I use substance a lot, but specifically using it for Arnold, I haven't done that much. Because I haven't really been using Arnold that long. We used to do RenderMan. There we go. Now we got our details. We got our bump. Which do I like better? Definitely RenderMan. The only thing that sucks with RenderMan is the licensing. Why do I like it? The materials have better, or they are more accurate to PBR. They're more, the renderer is faster. It's more efficient. And you get better quality renders. Like, the materials are also a little bit better too. So, and glass. Oh, glass is so weird in Arnold, and it's so straightforward in RenderMan. We switched because the licensing is a pain, and a lot of students were unable to get RenderMan to work in the first place. It's that sort of thing where you've been doing 3D as long as I have. You're used to licenses being a pain in the butt, and you kind of know how to work around it. But a lot of our students just found it like they couldn't even get RenderMan working in order to be able to do the class, and they'd start way behind. So there's a good reason for it. And Arnold works all right. Better than Mental Ray. Well, Mental Ray doesn't exist anymore, so. Yes, the skills definitely transfer over. It's all of the same sort of thing. It's just all the controls are in different places. So learning rendering, learning how materials really work is something that's going to transfer over, not just between different renderers like Arnold to RenderMan, but also to different software packages. Like learning how to light and use materials and render in Unreal is really not that different than doing it in Maya with Arnold. It's just things have different names, they're in different locations, and but they kind of work the same. You just have to like do some research on what's different. Because I mean, learning to render took me years, and I learned in Mental Ray, but then learning how to render in RenderMan took me like a month and a half, and then learning how to render in Arnold took me like 3 weeks. It didn't hurt that Tony Saxon did most of the research for Arnold for me. So I'm not going to let this finish because it's taking forever and we do have a time limit, but you guys can already see, like, I can see my coffee stains, my roughness. I can see my scratches very easily. They're all very clearly there. So this is significantly better than the texture that we would have had if we just put that texture straight on here. So I'm going to stop this. I'm going to apply the rest of the textures, and then we'll render the whole thing with everything on it. The only thing that's going to be kind of unique is the thermos, and that's because we have metal. So let's go ahead and we'll do the desk drawer. No, do not do glass and substance. The workflow is a little complicated, and a lot of shading and lighting students have had trouble getting it. Do not do glass and substance. The workflow is possible, and I really like it. I actually taught it for a few months, but students were having a lot of trouble with it, so we just dropped it. I was sad about that because you could get some really, really good looking glass. But it was too much. Leave that there. And then we will go to the bump mapping file. And we'll put this at like 0.01. This in here. Test drawer height. Oh, and it needs to be raw. There we go. And then we'll do the mug. Oh, wait, we didn't do, hold on. Go back to desk drawer. We didn't do our roughness. File. Desk drawer roughness. Open. Make sure it's set to raw, and alpha is luminance. And then we're going to go here. Oh, sorry, we're not going to do anything there. We're going to go to our mug now. Mug. So we're going to switch out the color, file. Actually, now that I think about it, I don't know why we're doing bump mapping because I don't think we had any bump, but whatever. Height. Yeah, that looks like nothing. That's just a complete waste. We should actually delete it, but what else? Maybe we will. If Photoshop added a 3D function in the future, would you ever would that be a goat over substance? It depends how good it is. I very much doubt that's going to happen because Adobe purchased the company that makes Substance. So Substance is the 3D Photoshop feature. For a while, they had something called Quixel, which was a competitor. They were good. I just didn't like it over Substance. I'm also a little bit of a Substance loyalist because I know a bunch of people there and get along with them quite well. So I doubt I would be moving on unless they really started to drop the ball. But right now, they're the best. So I doubt we're going to see Photoshop try and make a 3D texturing tool in Photoshop because they're going to be like, just use Substance. We make money either way. Okay, so there's our mug. And the last thing is the Chrome Thermos. Okay. So color, file, and Substance textures, Chrome Thermos, base color. Oh, no, that's not the right material. Chrome Thermos. Yes, film companies use Substance, game developers use Substance. A lot of people use it. It is the go-to texturing package. As far as I know, there's not really anything else to use that is of substantial, like equal quality. Okay. Mari. So I have a really good friend, well, a good friend that works at Insomniac. And so the biggest thing with Mari is that it does do 4K. And so I do know that some people, because it'll do textures over 4K. And so I do know that some people will use Mari for that because of that. But everybody that I know that uses it says that if they don't have to use it to get 4K textures, they use Substance instead. And that was a couple of years ago, so that might not still be true. I don't know if you can export out in Substance Painter. I've never had to export a 4K texture from it. And it might be because for a long time you couldn't. By 4K, I mean 4096. And I know it doesn't go any higher. And I know that in film, sometimes I need to go with higher resolution, which is a problem. Hooking up maps, raw. Okay. Where are we? Roughness. I don't know if it doesn't hit 4K or if it doesn't go over 4K. I can't remember. I just remember people saying it doesn't break the 4K boundary. And I was like, so. I was like, I don't go that high anyway. I could easily open it up again and open the last file and find out. We're doing textures. Right now, we're plugging them in. Okay, metalness. 0.5. What? Yeah, whatever. Now it's at 1 because we need it. Plug this in, file. Yeah, I guarantee when game engines start using textures over 4K, they'll be on that bandwagon. So for metal, I do need alphas luminance. Okay, good to know. That's why I have this document. Okay, so everything should work now. Let's use the desk cam. You jerk. Yep, looks like our metal map is coming through. What are our max screen resolutions? So 4K screen resolution is not the same as texture resolution. Texture resolution is the resolution of that specific texture. And if you have a screen that's 4K, that texture is not going to take up a full 4K on your screen, which is why, unless it's something like the ground, which is why you don't need 4K resolution on most textures. Really, from what I understand, the most when they use them is human character skin, because they like to get like the skin pores and all the subtlety. My friend who works at, not Insomniac, is it, it's the studio that did Ghost of Tsushima. They're a good studio, but they're not Insomniac. Anyway, she works there, and she says that she uses Mari specifically for human characters, and then everything else she does in Substance. Sucker Punch, yes, she works at Sucker Punch. And every time I see her at the Substance booth, she's always giving him grief about not being able to make textures the resolution she wants. She's like, I want to just use Substance. I don't want to use Mari. Networking, guys. That's how you get jobs. For those of you watching the video, they were like, you have a lot of friends. And I was like, yep, that's because I network. By the way, GDC, Game Developers Conference. As soon as COVID's over, go to it. I'm actually contemplating whether I'm going to the online GDC in July, I think. When is GDC? Yeah, July 19th to the 23rd. I have to make my decision probably this week. Completely online. GDC normally takes place in San Francisco every year. It's a bit expensive to get out there, but if you consider the fact that, you know, a plane ticket and a hotel room and then a conference ticket could mean the difference of you getting a job in your career or not, I think it's worth the expense. And hands down, I got my first job because of contacts that I built by going to GDC. Full Sail should give us time off for that. It is something I'm always salty about because I go and I have to take vacation time to go. A free pass, well, they'd have to pay for the pass. That's not really fair. You guys can pay for the pass. So GDC is focused on video games, but film developers do go as well in the film and visual effects industry. And that is because all of the tech and stuff crosses over. So you'll definitely find people there from LucasArts or Lucasfilm. You'll find people there, you know, from ILM, from lost track of the visual effects studios since Rhythm and Hughes closed down. You'll see people there from visual effects. No, it's online this year. What kind of pass do I normally get? I normally get the main conference pass, which is the second most expensive one. But I also have a tendency to work for the volunteer organization, which gives me my pass for free. Well, I have to work for my pass. I have to work, I think you have to work 20 hours that week. But you don't pay for your pass. They do have a student pass, which is like a 1-day pass. Problem with the 1-day pass is it's only Friday, and like that's everybody's pretty much done and checked out by them anyway. So I don't know how I feel about that one. Is the online attendance still paid for? If you mean, do you still have to pay for the online conference? Yes, you do. GDC is a big organization and they make a lot of money. How much are you talking? I don't know the prices for the online passes. I don't know if they've discounted them. But normally the passes range anywhere from a couple of $100s to $2,000. Again, the student pass is the one that's only like $200. Okay, so high 900 is definitely discounted from what the biggest pass normally was. The biggest pass was almost $2,000. You guys are just getting to listen to me talk while we render. I can tell you our metal is definitely working 100% the way it should be. I'm glad to see that. I made it nice and rusty. You don't have to do that, but we do want you to texture something metal. You're required to texture one wood object and one metal object. Yes, Cody, you can unmute to ask a question.
Did you get that? So you know how the thermos has the, what is it called, the anisotropy, and with the
Yes.
stuff on that? Did you achieve that effect in Substance and it just carried over, or did you have to? Did that just stay in Maya in that port for that?
No, the anisotropy is being driven by the anisotropy on the material in Arnold. The only thing I did in Substance to make that possible was that I made sure that there was roughness in the metal, because anisotropy needs roughness to work.
Got you. Okay.
Good question, though. So at this point, you can pretty much see the whole texture. What do you guys think? Looks pretty good, right? And we could definitely see the difference between this and if we didn't use Substance. I can swear I can even see some of the coffee stains that we put on the coffee mug. I can definitely see them on the coffee table. They're like right here. I can see the difference in the roughness. I can see the difference in color. It's definitely working. I can see some of our wood chips and stuff from our texture. I see my stupid little sticker. And of course the rust is there. So with this sort of stuff, subtlety is key. Like, we don't want it to be overblown. We just want it to be like, oh, I can see that it is there. Okay. We're at 100%. Will Mr. Saxon be in here at any point? He will be back on Monday. He's not going to be in lecture at all, and he is not going to be coming in for open lab, or for lab. Set the denoiser on. Is it still rendering? Whatever. We're done. So that is everything to do with Substance Painter. I'm going to save this scene since I named it and put it somewhere else. We didn't really get time to go over the Alchemist. I did kind of show it off last month. If you want to see a little bit of a video on that, go check out the end of last month's lecture. You can skip all the way to the end, the last half hour. So go to, April 2021-04 lecture 9 part 2 and skip to the last half hour. And then you'll see I went over Arnold and we had a lot more detail. I kind of riffed for like a good 20 minutes at the beginning of lecture, and that kind of ate up the time. We've only got 5 minutes left, and I really want to let you guys go so you can work on your assignments. Any questions before we go? Do I know anything about this assignment we have? Yeah. It's yes, Cody, go ahead.
Okay, so I think I'm a little confused here. So we got reference for the turn-in we had on Tuesday for this for the material part.
Yep.
And so all of the reference I have is stuff at like weird angles and just stuff in the scene. And so for textures, that's not really gonna work. So am I supposed to be getting entirely new textures that look like my reference so that I can?
Okay. So your reference doesn't change. you're thinking about going to save images out that you're going to use to generate textures in Photoshop, right?
Yeah.
So you are going to go online to get, or you can use a camera to get images to use for your textures. However, you have to make adjustments to those textures in Photoshop so that they look like the reference. So if the color is different, then you have to use the color balancer adjustment layer to change the colors to match your reference. So it still has to match your reference.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. He had mentioned something. It was like you need to use your reference for the textures or something like along those lines. And I just got confused because I mean the angles are completely different and wouldn't work.
Well, it's still reference for your textures.
Yeah. That's where I got hung up on.
It's just not the source image that you use to create the textures.
Okay. Understand. Thank you.
And one last thing, the bread is the anomaly. If you guys are doing the exterior scene, the bread reference works as a base color. You do still need to use it to generate a bump map, but you can use it for a basic texture. Marissa, so you don't want to do all of your textures in Substance for this class. Specifically, we only want you doing 2 or 3 objects. You are required to do 1 wood grain and 1 metal. But for the rest of it, you probably are going to want to do Photoshop because it's going to be quicker. You don't want to do all that substance work for everything in your scene. Okay, guys, any more questions? We're about at time, so I'm going to let Frank know that you'll be in there in an hour. All right, everybody, have a good weekend. I'll be around on Discord a little bit today if you have any questions, but I'm going to let you go. Everybody have a good one. Bye.